Okay guys, I'm trying to decide on what I think about the blue lipstick / purple lipstick. I'm counting on you to tell me what you think of it, and you have to be honest. Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Amy. Today I'm going to be doing a book review for all of you. I'm going to be reviewing The Butcher's Hook by Janet Ellis. So if you're interested in hearing what I thought about this book, then go ahead and keep on watching. The Butcher's Hook is about a girl named Anne. The story is told from her point of view in first person, and she's 19 years old, growing up in London. It is 1763 when this book takes place, and Anne is a part of a family that is of the upper middle class. Her mother doesn't work, she doesn't work, they have servants in the home. Overall, Anne doesn't have to worry about life's necessities. She's just pretty much taken care of, although she's a very unhappy, melancholy 19-year-old, to put it mildly. A few years prior, the entire family lost her younger brother at the age of 3, and this has very much just left a bad taste in the entire family's mouth, and they don't get along terribly well, and Anne is just really unhappy about all of it. And recently, when this book opens up, her mother has just had a new baby, and Anne is just really not okay with it and not happy about it, and the fact that her mother's time will be spent elsewhere. And so that's where this book starts out, and essentially the storyline that carries you throughout this entire book is that Anne falls in love with Fub, the butcher's apprentice, despite the fact that he is technically below her in class, and her parents would never allow her to marry anyone like Fub, and it's about her doing her best to be with him. You find a little bit about her past and things that have happened to her, but largely you're just alone with Anne and her thoughts, because Anne doesn't get to talk to many people because she is a part of the upper middle class and she's a female, so her education was minimal and ended abruptly, and so you just are left to hear what she's thinking, which just happens to be very morbid, dark, and sinister. Anne is like no other character I have ever read about before, especially with her being female. She's living in the 1760s, like I mentioned, but yet she's a very sexualized human being. She sees herself as a sexual person, and that's not necessarily because a man outwardly taught her to be that, which I love, because so many women in literature, especially historical fiction, seem to be these meek, mild women who need a man to teach them that they're sexual and that they can have sexual feelings. Anne is not one of these women, and she's 19, and I freaking loved it. And overall, Anne just doesn't have a great outlook on life, especially after losing her brother. She feels as if there's no good in the world until she meets Fub, but even then, it's just about Fub. She obsesses about Fub and all of that. That is her sole focus throughout this entire book, and how much she hates her family for keeping her from Fub and all of these things. And also it's the fact that her dad is currently trying to set her up with a suitor who's much older than herself, who she can't stand. So there's this dichotomy between this man her father wants her to marry and then Fub, who's fun and her age and she loves him. And it's just such an incredibly diverse, complex story, because Anne is such a complex character, and Janet Ellis's writing is out of this world. So the writing is dark and morbid, as I said. I'm going to say that many times throughout this review, just because this book was so dark. I really didn't know what to think about it as I was reading it, and I almost DNF'd it because I was so put off by it, but in the end, I think that's why I loved this book so much. Spoiler alert, 5 out of 5 stars on this book. Freaking loved it. Probably one of my favorite books so far this year. And the writing reflects how Anne views the world. The vocabulary is rich, but I even found that I had to look up some words, but once I found out what this word meant, it just added this like incredible depth to how Anne viewed the world. Because in many ways, Anne views the world in a very realistic sort of way. She doesn't see it as a place where all her hopes and dreams are going to come true and that everyone lives their best lives. She actually sees it as this dark place where everyone's just trying to get by the best that they can. But on the same vein, she's also very naive, especially considering her relationship with fub, and she's just naive in the way of love and relationships, and that dichotomy was so cool. It was so interesting to see. Janet Ellis did it so freaking well. Guys, I cannot tell you how well this book was constructed. And it's a slow burn, and there are some intense things that happen in this book, but it's just told from Anne's point of view, which is just like, and this is how it is. And so you just kind of see it as how it is. And Ellis's writing is so descriptive and intense. At one point, in one scene in particular, my stomach physically turned. Like, I physically felt sick to my stomach. It was so disgusting and gross. And not necessarily in a gory kind of way. It's not gore. It's definitely not gore. But I could just, like, all of it. Like, I was there experiencing it. And it was absolutely incredible. So, overall, Anne is a freaking awesome character. I've never read a character like her. The world of literature needs more Annes because she's imperfect and crass and borderline rude sometimes and very manipulative, and she's a female, and that was great to read about. 2, Ellis's writing is stunning. It's beautiful. The fact that she is a debut author is astounding to me. I hope she comes out with more books in the future. I really, really do, because I love this book so much. And I mean, the cover, guys, the cover, that's what drew me in. I had never heard about this book until I saw it on the new shelf at the library. Now, this book has been around for a while. About a year ago, it was really big on BookTube because it came out in the UK a year ago. I think it was March of 2016, and then in January of this year, it was released in the US, hence why it was on the new shelf at the library. And the cover drew me in, and it's so good. It's so beautiful. As of now, I'm just basically freaking out about this book, so I hope you realize how much you need to go read it. It's the perfect time of year to read this book because the book kind of takes place in the, like, on the cusp of, like, spring to fall, and so things are cooling off, and it's dark and sinister and creepy, and I freaking loved it. Like I said, 5 out of 5 stars. It took me a little while to decide that because I honestly didn't know what to do with this book. But now all I can do is gush about it and really hope that you read it. And if you have read it, let's talk about it because there's so much to talk about. This is such a great book club book. I have to tell you that right now. So yeah, I mean, let me take one last peek at my little cheater list of notes here. And I think I covered it. Overall, Anne's kick-ass, but you kind of don't like her, but you don't like her so much that you do like her. Does that make sense? She's like Loki from Marvel. Shout out to Tom Hiddleston because he's great in that role. Anyway, like I said, if you've read this book, let's chat about it. If you haven't read this book, go out, get it right now. I do know that the audiobook is narrated by the author herself, Janet Ellis, so that should be pretty good. I haven't listened to it myself, but I'm sure it's great. And yeah, if you like this video, please like it. If you loved it, please subscribe, and we'll see you in my next video. Happy reading. So, totes have a Beauty and the Beast sweater on. Saw this at Target, had to buy it. It went in my cart basically immediately, and I'm not sorry. Me telling you a little bit about what this book is about. A little bit about what this book is about. Does my teeth look green? Yellow? Like I said, we're still deciding. I'm struggling.